Hello everyone, so we're going to go live, even if we're 2 minutes ahead, but we're already at 10:30, so let's do this, and boom. Hello everyone, my name is Pedro and welcome to The Answer is 42, where we dig deeper and harder to introduce you to people and ideas that will help you create positive change in our lives, one idea, one person at a time. So our guest today is another multi-accomplished human. Jin is the founder of MetaMed, an intuitive therapist with over 10 years experience as an osteopath, herbalist, Western medical acupuncturist, and psychosomatic therapist. If this wasn't enough, Jin is also a successful entrepreneur, having grown her MetaMed brand from Wanaka to Queenstown, while at the same time starting numerous side hustles deeply linked to her passions. Speaking of passions, Jin is a firm believer to the importance of listening to our own bodies and the underlying stories they hold, as in them lie the answer to all our sufferings and conditions that are holding us back from reaching our true potential. Kicked in the butt by the current worldwide lockdown and all the implications to her business, she did not sit on the couch watching Netflix to kill time, and instead, within days, has already launched something she always wanted to do: the art of listening to your body, a platform to teach what she believes in, teaching people more about the mind-body connection. With a successful track record of executing on her goals, leading by example in a no-fluff approach, as she describes it, she has also found a handful of trusting entrepreneurs, clients, in which I count myself on, to coach and guide through the process of refocusing our energies based on our values to achieve the things that really matter to us and help us get back to living the life that we really want. She is married to Gavin Lang, a mountain guide and creative photographer with whom she has the most adorable daughter, Violet, that seems to have been named after Jin's favorite color, simply because Gavin couldn't pull any other meaningful options out of her. And you might also be surprised to know that she got married to Gavin on the top of a real snow and ice mountain, somewhere in the middle of New Zealand, where they somehow convinced the celebrant to tie on a rope with him to go celebrate this wedding on what might as well have become one of the strangest weddings he has ever celebrated. So please join me in welcoming Jin to the conversation. That Jin herself described can go anywhere, and I am absolutely sure it will. Here is Jin. You are live. Welcome to The Answer is 42, Jin. I'm super excited to have you here. So yeah, let's I actually thought of let's go straight in. I think what we had thought about going a little bit through an introduction and explaining some of the pieces of you were trying to put together, but I think they will come clear as we talk about things, and I just want to dive straight into the main topic of today because I think it's quite relevant for the moment, and which is basically how can sort of chaos and crisis, as I think came out in our conversation between us, can sort of push us into a place of growth and change. How you can describe what happened with you, or you can just give us some ideas of how to do that. Just give us a second, Jin. Can you apparently, right? Yeah. So apparently Zoom does have a little issue with this, so people can't hear you. So do you mind if we jump on a different call? Is it okay? Yeah. So guys, just bear with us. We're still fine-tuning some things, but this shouldn't take very long. If you jump on Skype, yeah, that should be all right. My handle is Urso Polar Voante. So Urso Polar. I put it on the WhatsApp, and so the last time we did this on Skype seems to have worked very well. All right. Okay. Okay, guys, bear with us. She's coming. She's coming. You can see her. You can see she's excited. And we're gonna put this on Skype. And so we are getting there. Thanks for letting me know, Ben, and Janet, Sam, Sonia. Yeah, you guys are legends. We're fixing it as we speak, so bear with us. Zoom started play ball with us earlier before, and must be all the communications that are going on. How are you doing today? Let me know in the comments. I can't hear you, but I can see your smiles. I can see the grin of Sam. I can see Sonia's little brain going and making connections. Ben, thanks for tuning in. Wasn't expecting you, but that's pretty cool. And I don't know if we got anyone on YouTube. You guys are on Facebook. YouTube is still going live. Don't think there's anyone there. Alright, let's see if Jin can find me. Oh. Yes. Getting there. She is coming. Right, you guys, is the sound on my end good? Are you guys hearing me well? Is it not too loud, not too low? Can you hear me well? I'll grab a cup of coffee. Can you hear that? This is the taste of coffee. So you should be seeing Jin. She's frozen. She will be coming back. Maybe I should just change this to that one. There you go. Got the full picture. Thanks a lot to you guys for coming in. I think there will be a handful of cool conversations. Yes, I know, Lisette. Thank you very much. We are fixing the problem as we speak. Apologies for that. You're gonna have to bear with us a little bit. I know this breaks the momentum of things, but we're still fine-tuning the whole process. So what's that, Sonia? Is it because of the things? Art, Sam Whedon, I can see you. Where? Jen is now moving or speaking. Come on, Jen, give me a call. These people are impatient. How's that going, Jen? Shall we put the pressure on her? And alright. Good thing is for the upload, I can always chop this part. No one needs to know about the ones that were here. So you get the benefit of asking questions, and you also the pains of experimenting with things. Can someone tell me, like, can you actually... Yes, Lisette, your sound is fine. Thanks for that. It's not too loud, not too low. Jin. I mean, if someone can be efficient at this, that would be Jin. Oh. Ah. I actually realized what the problem is. It's not her fault. That's actually my fault. Right, so now just can you bear with me? Jin Ong, cool. Join web, open Skype, so she's coming. Accept. Here we have Jin coming in. Boom. There you go. I'll bring her in a minute. Woo! Thank you, Jin. I can hear you super loud and clear. There was a bit of an issue. I was wondering why you weren't showing up, and realized that because I was sending the message on WhatsApp. The WhatsApp on the computer was disconnected. So, okay. So I'm bringing you in. Just give me a second. There you go. I got a window of Jin. She's looking great. Putting her big face. And in the sorry. No, so we're gonna start it. They heard everything I said. I guess they're introduced. So, but the good thing is, I can always upload the correct version on. There you go, Jin. You're live.
Hey.
Just tell me, guys, if you can see her, if you can hear her. Hopefully, the audio is correct.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Give it again. Test 1, 2, 3. Jin, give me a test 1, 2, 3. I'll set up your sound. Yeah. Okay, so guys, just let us know if you can't hear. I can raise our sound, and here we go. So Jin, we're gonna dive straight into this again. Thanks for your patience, guys. Here we go, Jin. I want to throw the ball on you. On everyone is in this lockdown. We're all at home, and I mean, we go back to that later, but basically you've managed to, we had a conversation and you told me how somehow this was just a kick in the butt to get things done, and you were said, you know, like a lot of crisis, this was your words, sit very close to this, but you're like, from crisis can come growth, and that's what I wanted to explore. How can people, how that happened to you, and how can people maybe catalyze that in their world?
Yeah. Well, so it stemmed from my experience of being a physical therapist and osteopath, and getting patients in the door with their physical injuries, their discomfort, or their recurrent illnesses. So not just musculoskeletal pain, and noticing that these people had emotional disconnect happening in their life, and the discomfort they were experiencing was really their body telling them that it was unhappy with their current life situation, be it their relationships, their job, their environment that they were living in. And some people would listen to that really early on, but other people would get really caught up in busyness, and their body would just keep on giving them more and more signs until they were forced to listen. And so it was this being forced to listen that I saw was the body's crisis, having a physical crisis where they would have the injury that they just wouldn't repair from, or maybe they would break a limb, or they would get a massive infection, or maybe they get things like an autoimmune disease, a very highly inflammatory disease, or something that just really floors them, where they're forced to stop. So this was the physical crisis that people were made to listen and to reflect as to what was going on in their life. And some people would make changes in their life in a positive direction, and others wouldn't. So in this situation, what happened to me was I did experience a bit of a health crisis. It was probably about, 8 years ago now. And I was living in Brisbane, and my skin is my weak point, or what I call my barometer. It tells me when I'm not too happy. And so for a long time, since a teen, I've been experiencing acne and itchy skin conditions, but it really flared up worse than I had ever experienced 8 years ago. And one was because I was in an environment that I know I typically don't like. I hate heat and humidity. And I was putting myself in that environment in Brisbane. And for me, I wasn't practicing as an osteo as I wanted to. I think we all have an intuitive sense of what's going on for people energetically, but I very much so did when I was treating patients, and I found it really frustrating because I knew that they had emotional stuff going on, stresses that they were pushing to the side and coming to me wanting to fix their physical issues. So I found that really frustrating. And I like to be really direct with people, very honest with them, and pull them up when they're not doing stuff. So I felt like I couldn't talk to people on this level. However, on top of all my skin issues, which I knew it was my body telling me I was unhappy, I was spending loads of money trying to fix it and not addressing the real core issues. And then I had a climbing injury in my shoulder, which was very minor, but it sort of tipped me over the edge. And I found myself being the patient who was trying to go around to all the different osteos and physios and massage therapists and get it fixed externally. And I came across a guy, Chris Knight, who some of you know as emotional anatomy and psychosomatic therapist, and he spoke to me on a much deeper level, on the emotional level. He acknowledged my physical issues, but was able to help me create awareness around what my body was actually trying to tell me. And so I really, really appreciated that, because I could have just jumped around lots of therapists and never gotten the answers, or I would have had to go down a massive spiral and get really unwell. So yeah, I experienced things like massive joint pains. I would have to hold on to the handrail in this apartment that I was living in to walk downstairs in the morning. I was getting lots of random fevers, and I actually remember thinking, gosh, I feel like I'm going to trigger an autoimmune condition in my system because I'm so stressed. Mentally, I wasn't stressed, but I just wasn't really practicing as an osteopath the way I wanted to, and I wasn't living the life that I really wanted to. And yeah, I've had multiple turning points, but that was probably the first one, having all of the bizarre symptoms happening in my body and knowing that doctors couldn't really tell me what was going on. They would just give me medications and things to do to suppress it. So yeah, I had lots of reflection time, and I could see how I was behaving as the patient who wasn't really listening to my own advice as well. There was that. And then another turning point for me was when Gav and I had our daughter, Violet, and it was about 6 weeks in, and we were very much people who just worked for our money and spent it as it came in and had really minimal savings. And he ended up signing us up to this course and spent like our last $6,000. And I burst into tears and I was like, oh my gosh, what have you done? However, I do like to invest in things and I do like to make them work for me. And that course that I did several years ago was what really set me on the path to creating my dreams. And so at the moment, I think that answers the first couple of parts of your question, but this whole coronavirus thing that's happening, and we're all in this forced lockdown, and most people I've been speaking to have actually really appreciated this time, and lots of people are saying, I would never have had this time or made this time myself. And what's really interesting is that we're not necessarily being affected by an illness personally. Some people are, but we've got this amazing opportunity where we choose to live in this environment governed by the government, and they have asked us to lock down and sit tight, and we can't go out and keep ourselves busy with our normal work, although yes, there are some people still working. And I think it's asking us to adapt to the environment. We are in a sense of survival at the moment because a lot of us have had our finances taken away from us, and some people are like, great, I don't have to work in that job that I hated. And it's an opportunity to reinvent yourself and get back to your values. I've often said to people, this is a great time to reassess what you were doing with your life, so reflecting, and then getting clear on what your values are, and spend some of this downtime working out what it is you really want to do with your life and how would you like your life to look like on the other side of this. And in reality, I think this is going to take us a lot of time from, but we can't really operate in the old way, how we were prior to COVID-19, that we need to learn to adapt. And that's what I've done with MetaMed, our clinic, our business, and that's still in the process of change. Change, I think, at the moment is just happening much faster than what it normally would. And I like to have that challenge. So it's given me the motivation to put my new project out there, which is talking more about this mind-body connection stuff, helping people become more emotionally aware and reconnecting what it is they really want out of life.
Right. I mean, that was pretty good as a start, but I would like to go a little bit deeper on that, because not everyone is like you, and I know you, I mean, probably better than the majority of people. How does one do that? I mean, give us a couple of tips of, you know, if someone is actually looking into doing that project, or actually wants to act on that change, because that's the other side, is people sometimes they say they want to, but then you were saying, you know, picture the life you want to be like. How does one go about starting doing that?
Yeah, sure. So I talk a lot about masculine and feminine energies. And so I'll start by describing that is that a lot of Western society is in the masculine energy, which is the right side of our body. And that is all the doing, the activity being physical, being structured, analytical, processed. And that's what a lot of us will do in our jobs. The feminine aspect, which is the left side of your body, is more following your intuition, your creative aspirations, your emotional expression. So expressing who you really are. And I think we've been quite conditioned over several decades, years, centuries, and by our sometimes from our family as well, um, to not express ourselves, to not follow our dreams, and that we should do practical things in our life. So we're battling with a little bit of conditioning. Um, how do you do this? So it is embracing more of the feminine. It is dreaming big. Just sit there and dream. I call an exercise called a 7-year image or a 7-year desire statement, and you just write out what you want your life to look like in 7 years' time. And I like to follow the 7 life areas, and I use this in goal setting as well. So when you're writing out what you want your life to look like in 7 years, you talk about it as if it's in the present. And it can be really challenging for people because they feel like they don't want to write things down in case they fail, but it's not about making sure this happens. It's like, well, just dream about what you want. So the 7 life areas is health, family and relationships, business and career, finances, education, social, and spiritual. So you want to kind of cover those areas. You can dot point it. It doesn't have to be a story just yet, but it's just about getting started. Um, yeah, so writing down what it is you really want. And then another thing is if you have an idea, like a project, a passion project, or a business idea, is it really needs to connect with your why. So I always like to start with the bigger picture in mind of what you want your life to look like in 7 years, and what are the little steps that you have to take to get there. And your life can totally change in 7 years. Like, look at life 3 weeks ago for us in New Zealand. It has completely changed so rapidly. So imagine what you can do with many, many more weeks at your hand. Right. The other thing that you want to do is, if you have an idea, is connect it with your why. Why is it that you want to do this project? And I also think it's really important that it's connected to your own story. I like to talk about people's pain stories and their experiences, because when we experience something, we will have our own perspective on it, and we can share with people how we have come through that. So I always just try and teach what I've experienced myself and be open to other people's ideas. And then you want to find out, okay, well, how is this idea potentially going to impact the lives of others? Because I think that if we can share something that we're really strongly connected with, that fulfills us, and we know that we are helping other people, then it can give us more meaning. And then you also, for all of the projects I've had, is work out what is the bigger change it can make in the world.
I mean, those are great ways of putting it, but I know where can people? I think the people that let's face it, like if the people that can do it they probably don't need to be listening to this, because this will just help polish a few things or get a couple of tips left and right. But for people that are totally blocked on their way, sometimes older people, sometimes that they want to change, but where do they find that energy? Where do they find their motivation? And where does that motivation comes from? Or how can we help them find it? I mean, I think you touched on a few things, the reflection, but like, how do you go deeper and actually get them to just say, I really want to do this, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, and I'm going to start doing it, and I'm going to do it and continue to do it. Like, tell us, take us into that topic a little bit.
So it can be challenging. Like, the work that I do is often bringing up a lot of awareness around people's emotions, their beliefs that would be ideal if they could change them. And it can be really confronting. So it can be challenging for people, and not everyone is ready. So even though I say that we've got a great opportunity right now, not everyone will see that, and not everyone will be able to shift focus and change their mindset. I do think a lot of it comes down to our mindset and our choice of what we want to do. So either you stay in the situation you're in, and maybe you're happy with it, maybe you're not, or you make a decision to make your life different. And that's why I love to share people's pain stories, or my own pain story, and where I've been, because probably at one point in time, I wondered if all of this was possible, like what I've created to this date. 6-7 years ago, I don't think I would have really recognized that I could achieve that. So it's surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, listening to the shows that you're going to be having and all the speakers that you're going to be having on board. Thank God we've got the internet right now, because that can just be a rabbit hole of information. I just really encourage people to get started. I also encourage people to get their ideas out of their head onto a piece of paper, and even better if you can connect with someone and share those ideas with them, because when you write that idea down, when you share it, you're more likely for it to actually happen. So it's having those conversations, having the idea. So reach out to people. I think more than any time right now, people are just so willing to support one another and get their ideas out there. So ask for help. If you're on social media, is just put a question on your status and someone will come. Like, I love networking and connecting people with the right people to help them move forwards. Pick up the phone and talk about what it is you want to achieve in your life. What do you want to change? So is just making it happen, express it, and the right people will show up. It may not seem like that can happen right now, but if you just get started with the process, it can unravel. So how do I motivate people? Most of the time, the way I motivate people is through conversation and answering their questions.
Just being a no bullshit conversation and no fluff approach that you're known for.
Yeah, exactly. Having the conversations, I very much ask for support. I talk about my ideas, I sound them out, and I get the feedback from people.
I mean,
a lot of the relationships that I have now, I wouldn't have imagined that I would have them, when I was dreaming of this 7-10 years ago.
Right. I want to even going a little bit more specific on what you're talking about. So you're talking about making a big picture, setting up a big picture 7 years down the line. Like, others want to start to do that. Well, I want to have international business. I want to make $500,000 a year. I want to have a Ferrari. It's not actually what I want, but like, for the difficulty in this process is, you probably know, and I'm sure you've faced this a few times, and I'm curious to know who's been your hardest case in terms of breaking that sort of those habits. But for people that have somehow, that you asked to do this, that for the majority of people it's really hard to just say, well, but that's kind of not possible. The first thought that probably comes to our mind is, you're asking people to think about the impossible.
Yes.
I want to be shooting a Netflix series or I want Catalyst Media to be shooting the next Netflix series that is going to be as successful as Casa de Papel. And like I can't even start thinking how I would get there, So how does one start do that? Is it like, are you need to think about it if it's going to be possible, or you just like put it down? Because a lot of people think about, oh, I want $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, but that's kind of not really a thought, is it? Like, it's not, you haven't really thought about it. So how does one do that? And how does one go over that limitation sort of thought of, oh, that's impossible already from the start?
Yeah. I think for me, it's encouraging people to go through the process because I have taken a number of people through this process. I've been through it myself. I'm still going through it. I'm sort of coming to the end of my 7 years that I projected 7 years ago, and now I'm ready to sort of refresh and renew that for the next several years moving forwards. And it's all these pieces of the puzzle and processes that if you just do them, they start to fall into place. So I do encourage people to really just sit down and take the time out to dream about what is the life you want in 7 years, even if it seems unattainable. You just get the platform, you get the foundation written there, and then you can revise it. Yes, it has to be realistic. I think it is definitely within reach for people to make $1 million within 7 years, but you have to recognize that all of this process does take work and it may take you out of your comfort zone. I've definitely, with everything that I've done, I have always put myself out of my comfort zone. I quite enjoy it. I like to prove to myself that I can do it as well. If I didn't take those first steps and get uncomfortable, then I wouldn't be where I am today. And right now I'm in discomfort because everything's changed for me with my MetaMed business. However, I'm like, cool, this is a challenge. And I remember for myself dreaming that I would be able to attract people internationally and nationally, not just within Monaco and Queenstown. And now I see the opportunity in this. I've always wanted to go online. However, I've been comfortable. Everything was ticking along really nicely. And now all of a sudden, within a few days, we had to switch to being on the online platform. And we've already started attracting people not from Monaco and Queenstown to have consultations with us. So it's happening, and I put the intention out there. I've lost the question. What was it?
No,
Maybe,
the
maybe,
question is how to specifically do that. Like 1, 2, 3 steps. I sit down there tomorrow morning. I wake up, make myself a cup of tea. How much time do I need to put aside? Do I need to do a first episode tomorrow and then do another one? Do I need to revise it? Is it breaking down in columns? How
okay,
does
yeah.
it look like?
Yeah. So it wouldn't even be starting on your project just yet. It would be starting with the whole bigger picture. What do you want your life to look like? And I sound like a broken record, but honestly, like that's what I think you need to work on. And then another exercise that I give people is core values, because we all have values that we live by, but many of us just aren't aware of what they are. So it's putting everything through your filter. So why do I want to have my life looking like this? Why do I want to put this project out there? And does it
Give us an
connect with
example.
that? Well, okay. So,
For your example, for example.
well, what I'm talking about is really general right now. So probably the best example would be is tell me realistically, what do you want?
What do
Put
I
me in the
want?
spot right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me think a little bit about it. What do I want? I want to something that is really important to me is to be fulfilled in what I'm engaged on. I've worked my background for many people that probably don't know as mechanical design engineer. I still have that mindset. I look at things. I got a very mixed sort of approach to things, half sort of analytical and half creative, which I think it's a plus in a lot of the stuff I do. But so being true to finding something that fulfills me, it's something that I consider a lifelong goal. So I've worked as an engineer for almost 10 years, and there was always something missing. Even if I was actually doing really well, I was growing, I was learning more, I was progressing in my sort of corporate life career. So I don't know if that's what you asked, but so that's something that is important to me. At the same time, I want to, like everyone, I think everyone would love to have their dream job. And for me, what I do right now is pretty much as dream as it could be. I mean, I can grow on it, but I think it's something that I feel blessed every day for having the last few years since I've started Catalyst Media to be able to do it. So that's my main thing. Then I want that to be able to exist within the things that need to occur in my life. I want my family around, I want some time with them, and I want to have enough finances that support the lifestyle we have, and maybe staying international and maintaining contact with my family. So those are probably sort of my main key points of what I would like to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Great. And so what I would recommend is that you just sit down, like you're actually pretty clear about it in your head, but you just sit down and you get it out of your head onto a piece of paper, and you check in and see if it's actually something that's realistic to be able to achieve, and cover those 7 life areas. So you already talked about family, you talked about your business and career, you talked a bit about finances, and I find a lot of people are uncomfortable about talking about finances. And actually putting a figure on it and looking at their money and working out how much do I actually need to survive. So some people, looking at all those life areas, but actually just putting down on a piece of paper. And lots of people, when I ask them to do this exercise, do have a big block around it. And I just ask them to trust me in it and just do it. Like, it'll take an hour out of your life. It could take several days if you wanted to, but if I sat down with you and said, right, Pedro, at the end of an hour, you're going to have this document written and I want to read over it, it'll bring up all sorts of discomfort for you and all sorts of self-doubt. So, but to be emotionally aware that that's how you feel is what's important in this process. It starts to really uncover any weaknesses or your strengths as well. So another thing that I just remembered is, how do you find the motivation? It is sometimes connecting with your friends and just saying, hey, I'm feeling really down at the moment. I just don't know if I can get this project done. Can you give me a bit of a boost? I'm sure that lots of people will tell you all the things that you're amazing about, and you just need that boost of confidence. We're often unaware of what our strengths are and how we can contribute to the lives of others, and because they're things that come easy to us. So all of this filmmaking, photography that you're really amazing at, I think you do recognise that, and that's why you've got this company going. However, there's lots of skills that you would just do innately that so many of us would want your advice on, and it feels good when we can help people. So when we can see that we're helping people, that can often inspire us and motivate us. So yeah, writing it all down. I can have conversations with people for days about this. It's like, if you just sat down, you would have had this done by now. So
do you have any? Is there like a template or something that is available somewhere that we can kind of use it? Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Do you have your own, or do you have someone else's? Like something that we could somehow,
No, I've got my own one that I do give to my patients, and it's just a pretty simple A4 piece of paper with those dot points to give you some prompts. It's all stuff that I'm working on putting on my website. The main one that I've got out there on the Planning Powerhouse website, you can sign up for. It's called the Core Values, Discover Your Core Values. And as we were discussing just before the call, is that
I've downloaded yesterday. I started.
Yes, it's quite a confronting exercise for people, but if you can get it done, it's amazing. I think if we just think about
sorry to interrupt, but just the process of the first question of actually traveling to that moment in time where somehow you felt that you were at your best. It's just like, for me, it was like very clear, and it just like, for a start, it just made me like long for that feeling, and just I wanted to be on that moment. It was such an incredible, creative, collaborative moment. That was awesome. Can I don't know if you wanted to finish, but I mean, this is all great, but I go back to one thing that probably I struggle a lot is I have a lot of ideas. And I mean, right now people got locked down at home, and at first this looked like, oh yeah, this is going to be a holiday. But then like you started realizing, depends. I mean, if you're by yourself, you can probably like just like go into the sheets and no one will know. But I mean, if you live in some sort of bubble, people are somehow making you a little bit accountable, and you'll realize that life carries on in different forms, and actually you have to adapt in a lot of things. It could be that you want to keep fit because otherwise you're going to end up like a ball rolling out of the door at the end of this, or you need to keep your mental sanity. If you have kids, you need to look after them and entertain them, or even spending some meaningful time with them. You also want to have some time to maybe entertain yourself and just disconnect from all of this. So, I mean, and all the how do I prioritize through? How do I find what's important? Because the reality is there is not enough time in a day to just do all the things we should be doing. So how do we actually okay, tomorrow I want to do this exercise you're proposing. Like, how do I make it important, and how do I get to the end of the day with a sense of, oh shit, not oh shit, I didn't do everything I wanted, but actually I did the things that were important to me. Where does that start, and how do we do that?
Yeah, so interesting because as I said to you before, is I think the only thing that we have on our side is time, and it can be quite a habit to try and fill that time as well. So I think it's important to digest what has happened, how it's affecting you, and then yeah, let the ideas pour out. So do a big brain dump, stick all of your ideas on a piece of paper or on a document and have a look at them. Some of those ideas, one of the questions you asked me was, how do we get to the things that have been piling up over the years? Is I would question is, are those ideas important anymore if they have been piling up for that long? So brain dumping it all down and just working out, okay, does this still have meaning to me? Is it still connected to my bigger picture in that life 7 years down the track? Is it connected to my core values? So that's where all of these exercises start to create a filter on your ideas. And I think I find a lot of people get quite overwhelmed because they say yes to every single opportunity that comes their way, but it doesn't necessarily serve them and fulfill them. And it soon becomes something draining. It starts to exhaust them, and then their body starts to tell them it's not happy. So, yeah, list them all out and work out, do they connect with one another, and are they connected to your deeper why and your life mission or your soul's purpose, like that I like to say.
Right. So, you would you say that you found your why because of all the journey you were telling about, like in terms of, was that like a clear thing, or is that a thing that went through time?
It was definitely something that evolved over time, and it was through my own experiences. And again, I talk a lot about emotional awareness. So I became very aware of how I was reacting to situations. I looked up to certain people in my life that inspired me, that I wanted to cultivate more of what they had in their life. And so it meant that I had to change certain habits, certain ways of being. Um, I've forgotten the question again.
No, the question is, did you find your why like progressively, or it was very clear and they said like, this is what I want to do, and you had no doubts?
Yeah. So yeah, it was about 6 or 7 years ago that I became really clear about my why. So I believe my purpose is, I say it's to liberate people of pain physically and emotionally and reconnect them with their soul's purpose so that they can live to their full potential. And I've had that opportunity to do that through my osteo work. It's been a tool because people come in with physical injuries, but I've always been able to intuitively read the deeper stuff that's going on in the body. So I'm always prepared though for this to change and evolve over time, but it's something that I've always come back to. So those exercises that I talked about, like working out what your strengths are, your 7 year image and your core values, I review them in the early days, I reviewed them every 3 months until they felt really like they connected with me. Now I will review them every year or so because, yeah, I might have had millions of dollars in my financial goal and that didn't happen, but I need to look at, okay, well, is it realistic? Do I actually need millions of dollars? And yeah, there's some stuff that I wrote many years ago that are irrelevant to me now. You know, they sat there year after year. I wanted to do futures trading, but it just doesn't connect with me anymore.
Right. I mean, is there a, I wanted to get into sort of, I know planning is a really important thing for you, and what is like one thing you do every day that supports, you know, all this that you're an advocate for in terms of progressing and continuing to grow? I mean, how does one go about doing some level of planning? How long does it take? What
Yeah.
shape does it take? Because the reality also of life is you often plan and then you realize things are going to take longer than you did.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, I think. It's more often taking more time than they should or than you planned than the other way around. So,
Mm. Yeah, I am definitely a big planner. There was something that I talked about in my group the other day is that, yeah, I talk a lot about all this emotional discomfort that comes up in the body and the deeper meaning. And again, not everyone is ready to deal with that. But I use the external environment as an analogy. And so if you notice a lot of mess in your external environment, that can often reflect how you're feeling on the inside. So I like to have things tidy and organized. And yeah, I do like to plan, but I also plan for some flexibility as well. So I will have some important tasks that I will write down. So each night I spend about 10-15 minutes writing out what I want to achieve the following day. What are those really high priority tasks, and what are the things that I would like to get done? And so when I wake up in the morning and have my routine of just getting ready, having breakfast, I'll sit down, especially if I'm starting to feel like, oh my gosh, okay, there's so much to do. Because yes, I also feel like I've got many ideas. I sit down and go, right, this is what in my calm space I plan to do for today, and this is what I'm going to stick with. And I don't try and fill my page up with a number of
so,
irrelevant tasks.
so what do you do with all of those like fires that start coming up from everywhere? Because it often happens. And what do you do with those? You just put them on the back burner, or?
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I think that sometimes I'm quite quick to think. So some of them I will react and address them straight away. And then other ones I will look at my task that I have written down and go, okay, is this high priority? Is that something that can just wait? So it's taking the time to sit back. I don't react to everything, but I take it on board. There
Right.
are some things that need quicker action than others, though.
Right. Right. So, I mean, how does that, you're talking about those 10-15 minutes, do you make a to-do list? Do you block time? I mean, just help people by being a bit more specific.
Um,
Do you do that in, like, get us,
yeah.
let us go through that? It's like, do you sit in bed with your phone or you have a piece of paper?
Oh, yeah.
What's your process?
So I've downloaded a thing called Momentum Planner, which I believe you have a copy of as well.
Right.
Are you using it?
Yes.
Who's going to get onto it? Maybe you can show us an example because, hang on, I've got mine here.
Right.
So I'll pull out a blank sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the cool thing. It only cost me like $12 on Instagram, Momentum Planner. And it has today's projects, scheduled events. It's got a timeline down the side, supporting tasks and emergent tasks. And I'm only allowed to put in 5 projects that I want to achieve each day. And if there's too much on there, more than 5, then I need to reprioritize them to other days. And then I put in my events, and I'm only allowed to have 5 events in for the day. So today, what we're doing right now will be one of them. And then I write out my little timeline. So it's on a piece of paper. I do like to do a lot of stuff digitally, but I also like to write stuff down in the moment. So yeah, I'll allocate what tasks I have, what events I've got on, and then I'll write out my timeline from 7 a.m. through to 10 p.m. and put my schedule in there. It just gives me a visual of how full my day
Hmm.
is. And yeah, not to try and cram in more than I think I can actually achieve. And if there's an emergent task section. So if anything new comes up, like a little fire that needs to be put out, then I will pop it in there. I am very grateful to have a team. So in regards to MetaMed stuff, I can try and delegate some of those tasks if it's appropriate for someone else to do, or even Gav to help me out and do it as well.
Like, I mean, going back. Thanks for that. I think it's a lot clearer. Going back to I mean, what holds us from actually just even start all this from how much we're talking about this. Part of the topic was about this yin and yang connection and the mind and body connection. For someone that are really struggling to, they watch this, they really want to do it, but then they get on tomorrow and they don't do it, and then the next day they don't do it. Like what would you tell them? I'm thinking sometimes of older people that I know they're caught in their methods in some of our loved ones, and we sometimes it feels. I remember this thing that someone gave me a long time ago, which is like, if my dad knew what I know at my age, you'd be a millionaire when he was that age. I mean, everyone might have seen that little thing you offer on Father's Day. Like when sometimes you want to pass on something that you're inspired by to other people, but you see there's so much resistance. I hope you don't have coronavirus yet.
Oh my God, I'm trying to check on my water and I can't find a mute button on Skype. Sorry.
It's all right.
You're gonna have to keep talking while I clear this.
Yeah, it's all right. So, I mean, that's my question. Like, how can you help someone that they want to change, but at the same time, like, they don't act as if they want to change, and they struggle to find some motivation. And that's why I was asking you, like, who was your worst person to work with, either on business level or as an osteopath or chiropractor, or like working with their body.
Yeah. In terms of, is there the worst person to work with? What's interesting is that so to practice the way that I want to practice is to be honest with people and to bring awareness to what's going on in their body, physically and emotionally.
Right.
Sorry, I've gone. And for me, if someone comes to see me once or 10 times, I will bring their attention to this. And yes, it's confronting. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But I have had some people who, at that point in time, they're like, this is all too much. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to dig up these skeletons in my closet. They want to sweep stuff under the carpet and they want to move forward. But those things will hold them back. And their body, their mind will continue to tell them this. And it's up to them whether or not they want to make that choice to listen to it and address those deeper issues. So I've had some people who will come back to me months later, 2 years. I've had some people come back to me 10 years later and go, right,
I'm ready.
You said, yeah.
Let's go back.
Yeah, I've spent lots of money. I've tried all these people. I've tried all these gurus out there. And yeah, it all comes back to the emotional stuff. So sometimes we have to hear it many times and then go, okay, maybe I should just do this.
Okay. So, I mean, it might not be a straight answer to this question. Sorry, Jin, putting you on the spot. But I mean, we all, for the moment, have a limited amount of time in this world, even if I would love to live forever. How do we fast track that? Because I think ultimately it's like we stay in a relationship as long as we have to, until we're ready. You do that, as you said, until you're ready. We stick to the job we don't want to do until we're ready. And for some people, they're probably so stubborn that they could potentially be there their whole lives. So,
yeah.
I mean, is there any way to fast track that and get to a realization of, I want to do something and I want to change, or maybe I don't want to change. So,
yeah, as you say, I think you're going to make.
You're too close to the microphone, and you're passing me your coronavirus right now.
Yeah, it comes down to that choice of, okay, do I want to stay how I am, and maybe that is being miserable, knowing that you're also affecting the lives of other people around you being miserable, or do you want to make a change, and do you want to give yourself a chance to live the life that you want? And so I believe that we all have a purpose in this lifetime, and for some of us it will be able to share and contribute and help people grow, and for other people it's just our purpose is to live our life that way and maybe turn us off living our life a certain way as well. Um, so, and when you talk about, okay, if we've got limited time and what if we die tomorrow, that's actually a scenario that I run through my head is what if this was to happen? If I was to die in a month's time, would I be happy with what I've done with my life? And more in the sense, did I live a meaningful life? Was I happy? Did I, um, did I help other people? Sorry, my mail's popping up. I'll just turn that
It's
off.
okay.
And yeah, so that is another exercise I give people is leaving a legacy. So write your own eulogy. How would you want to be remembered if you were to pass away? How do you start it? So there's multiple questions in what you're asking, so I keep
No,
getting lost.
the question was like how to somehow. I think you're there. You just create a great tip. I had forgotten about. I've heard this tip a few times. The first time I read it in the most incredibly, I didn't see where it was going. So it was on the book from Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it's probably.
Never been able to get through that.
Sorry, you have never gone through it.
I've never been able to get through that book. I try.
It's funny enough, I've listened to it multiple times on my runs. I actually found there were parts of it that were like highly inspiring in a way. And one of them is exactly that exercise in the description. You don't realize where it's going. It just asks you to think about this, think about that. And it's just like, like you're dead, you're in your coffin, and you're starting to see people coming to the ceremony and etc. And then eventually the main point was to, what would you like people to say about you? Think about your loved ones. Think about what they would be thinking about you. And yeah, I think it was like a really powerful exercise. And the fact that I was reading the book is not that I said, oh, I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to do this today. It kind of just came to me like a train. And yeah, but I think, yeah, definitely your tip of, I think being confronted with death, and I think you're not the only person to say that. I've heard that with other talks and other people. It's probably one of the biggest ones because I think that's our mortality that is probably the biggest motivator factor of them all. Probably more than money or anything else.
Yeah. No, the death thing is quite interesting. The other thing you were saying about is what motivates you is I find often for new mums or new parents is that you have a new driving why. So your child, you want to set an example for them. Maybe you don't want them to live the life that you lived, so you want to change that. So it is, again, exploring that why, and you just need to start the process. And, you might write out your eulogy, but then in another year's time, that eulogy might change because you discover new reasons or new drivers, new motivators that you want to leave a legacy behind for. But the motivation, it is challenging. Some people it's an awareness that maybe you've been conditioned to believe certain things, you're stuck in certain habits, and you've got to make that choice to change. And I think for me, I remember as a teenager, that's when I sort of made the decision to stop procrastinating and follow through with stuff. So it may be that you need to be aware that you don't follow through with certain activities. You start and then you lose trust in yourself, you lose momentum. I think the other thing that's important is investing the time in yourself at the moment. The other thing that I would recommend is, I know money is tight for a lot of people, but for me, after that $6,000 that Gav spent, we then went on to spend $50,000, and both of us weren't really working to much capacity. And we paid for these courses on credit card, but was so determined to make sure that we at least made that money back. And it's been incredible. But I know people who have dropped 50 grand on these courses or other courses and done nothing with it. And I think they have to be aware that that's their tendency. They go and spend money to try and deal with, like, learn a new skill or do something. But again, they're not following through. They're not acknowledging or willing to change certain habits or get out of their comfort zone as well. So we were so uncomfortable in that moment of $50,000 of credit card debt, which I think beforehand, I would have thought that's really stupid. And I don't recommend people go and drop 50 grand right now. But for me, if I spend the money on something, I want to make it work. I want to make something happen out of it. So sometimes it is getting a mentor, investing in someone to hold you accountable. Um, at the moment, maybe it is just finding a friend who really inspires you and asking them for help, but making sure that you're committed to doing the work that they put out for you.
Yeah, I was, as you were going through that, I thought, the fact that you did with Gavin, it's great because there was that level of accountability. So it's like, we're in this together. We need to make it work
Yeah.
now. I think we're getting to an end here. In my last question, not the last question, but the one I had here sort of noted is, how can people find that accountability, especially if they're alone? What sort of tips do you have for people that are more they don't live with someone, or maybe their partner is not the best person to be their partner of accountability? I
Yeah.
mean, what should one do? By the way, I had a comment here.
Yeah.
I just had a comment here from Sonia about art being also a great motivator to just get you to do things. So I thought it was an interesting thing, and maybe we will explore this with her. So we got death and art, but tell us,
Ah,
yeah, art. So the
yeah.
creative process.
Yeah.
Um, Sort of, yeah, because the creative process just pull something from inside us. When you have it, it literally goes against like everything. You just have to do it, and I can understand what she was saying there. The So tell us, like, what I mean, because we're starting to get long. What tips would you give to people that want to do certain things? They know what they probably should start be doing, but they don't have anyone around. There's no bubble, for example, right now on their houses, apart from the
Yeah.
dog, the cat, or even then sometimes they don't have any.
Yeah.
What could they do? How do you find that accountability?
Yeah. Um, so I am a pretty good self-motivator. However, I do have multiple mentors in my life that I use, some paid and some free. And yeah, I would say look for the free mentors, the people that are willing to contribute at the moment. That's my art of listening to the body and the planning powerhouse project at the moment is I'm just giving all this information and support away for free right now because it's something that I love doing. It's something that I would do even if I wasn't getting paid for it. And right now I'm not getting paid for it, but if I can make a change in people's lives and motivate them, then that's what I'll do. So there are so many, if you're watching this, you've got connection to the internet. And so there is so much free stuff popping up. There is so much online stuff popping up that there's bajillions of people that you can connect with right now. You can find, someone that you worked with that inspired you or a friend that inspires you. And yeah, just shoot some ideas with them. There's so much free stuff on the internet, including my stuff right now. So you
Well,
can
I'm
join.
sure we're going to get a bunch of links for people wanting to explore that. I mean, I was just thinking maybe you need like some videos that are literally just talking right into the camera. Have you done your core values today? Because tomorrow I'm going to come again with another video and I'm going to kick your butt. Did you wake up in time today? Are you moving?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I only started my group last week, so if you join it, then you will be taken through the baby steps of it. And as I say, like I address the feminine, which is more the storytelling of the body and the emotions, and then I've got the masculine processes, which are the sit down and do these processes, and let's discuss them and let's brainstorm them, and create them in your way. And I just wanted to touch on what Sonia was saying about art, is because art and creativity is definitely more embracing that feminine. And I do notice there are some really amazing, successful artists out there. And it comes down to valuing that actually this creative aspect of yourself is something amazing and other people value it. So if it is like painting or creating stuff, is that people actually want that stuff in their homes. And what I love about art is that it's usually a very deep emotional connection with what you're producing. And yeah, I often say that there are some artists out there who they can't support themselves with their art only because they don't trust in themselves and they don't embrace enough of the masculine processes to put it out there. it's like they just want to get discovered. And sorry, I don't actually know you, Sonia, so I'm not saying that this is the case for you. But yeah, create all this stuff, but put it out there for people. And financially, maybe you need to put a figure on stuff as well. So value what you do and know that other people value it as well.
There is certainly a lot of power on when you start saying no and start, you have to raise your prices and then you realize that, damn, like it kind of worked. Or yeah, I mean, someone was asking here, actually, I think it is my dad. He was asking, how do you live with a 20-year mind in a 60-year old body? how do you Sorry?
It's never too late. I always wanted to be the person because I know that I've had really influential people or just general like people walking down the street who would say something to me and it really resonates with me. And so I remember thinking, I want to be that person that just says something to someone that inspires them to change. And I've had that opportunity through my osteo and through treating patients is connecting with people on a deeper level and motivating them and seeing them just change their life. But it is getting people at that point where they want to make a change. So you can do it. It's all in your mind and your beliefs, and you need to be supported by people around you. So that's like a social goal for me, is to continually be surrounded by people that inspire me and motivate me and value me as well.
Right. So believe in yourself, find an accountability partner, or I think what you said is great. I mean, there's so many platforms nowadays, some groups, when actually the group is sort of limited, not like a totally open group, but groups that are limited to people within the same sort of frame of mind that are pursuing the same thing can be a great way, a great method of accountability, where you start putting down what you're going to do and someone eventually say, oh, how are you doing with that project? And then you're just like, holy crap. Or then kind of you go silent for a day, or maybe I need to do it, or I think there was, so is this group you had, what is it, the power of listening to your body, remind me? The art of listening to your body. Is this a platform sort of like that? Can we invite everyone to join in? We've had a bunch of around 20 people at least listening sort of regularly here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm still fleshing it out, and that's not the general planner in me. The planner in me and the reforming perfectionist would have it all set out and know exactly how it's going to play out. But in this moment in time, I just put it out there and I'm going to let it evolve. And I really want people's input. So in the art of listening to your body, and on my other Facebook, on that Facebook page, so that's a group, is I talk about different body parts, the struggles people are having that they're communicating with me, and I'm talking about that. And then the podcast is something else. If you don't want to watch videos, is that you can just, so that's also called The Art of Listening to Your Body. And I've just started that. There's a couple of episodes, but I want to get people on there live. So some are patients, some are friends. One is actually Gav, my husband, and talking about their pain and injuries that they've been through, which I think have been pretty significant, but they've come out the other side and they've taken massive learnings and they've changed their life. So I think that we can find a lot of inspiration from people's pain stories when they've come out the other side. And I think there's something in our human nature that likes to hear the negative aspect. And, quite often we can look at people who are successful or we aspire to be like them. But it is an understanding that we've all had our challenges. And if we can share that and be vulnerable with people, we can teach them a lot. So yeah, through storytelling, the feminine aspect.
I was just having a great idea for your platform, or at least, I don't know, I think it's a great idea, but it might be, because it would be hard to get everyone accountable, and actually pairing people together that are on those groups, and even if you're still accountable by the group, you actually could have someone that you sort of connect with, and that are maybe on the same line of dream or work, or that could be I think there could be a very sort of one-to-one level of accountability that is even more powerful than a group. It's kind of a mini group within the group. I think we're getting to an end here. I don't know if anyone's got any more questions or things that you'd like us to go through. But before I ask my last question, Jin, where can people find you? Where can people find more information on this? What do you support us in terms of information? Can you let us know? And if you wouldn't mind to just drop a couple of links in the comments, let's say
Yep.
just on the Facebook one, and then I'll copy paste them everywhere. So where can people
Yep.
find you?
So, MetaMed is the clinic is still running in an online capacity, and all of our team is still working from home. So, if you want to actually explore this work one to one and you feel like you're ready, then I am doing online consultations. A lot of people think, oh, osteo, musculoskeletal, but I'm bringing a lot of the psychosomatic aspect into it. And that's basically you would tell me what issues or discomforts that you have in your body or ailments. And if you need a little bit of deeper insight and you know that there's an emotional disconnect happening, but you need a clearer picture, then that's what I love, giving people that whole picture on that really holistic approach. And then I have started up my new Facebook group, which is under my name page, Jin Ong. The handle is The Art of Listening to Your Body. And within there is a group where I post live videos, but I'm also posting on the page about different body parts and what they represent on the emotional level. So you can start to learn about those issues. And you can ask me questions. I actually work a lot better if you ask me your personal questions and then I can break it down. Otherwise, it does seem very general. And then I've got Instagram, which I've just started as well, also The Art of Listening to Your Body, and then planningpowerhouse.com. And this is where I have to do some work explaining this to people. So I say that the Facebook page and group, talking about the emotions, is all the feminine aspect. And then Planning Powerhouse it's still being built, but it's up there. You can get access to the podcast on there, is where I'm going to be putting the structured processes in. To take you out of that emotional discomfort and start moving you forwards in the direction that you want to go in. So yeah, multiple platforms, but one-to-one consulting with me online through metamed.co.nz. Check out the Facebook page. That's where things are evolving at the moment. The Art of Listening to Your Body, and then planningpowerhouse.com is the masculine processes.
All right. The well, you got another follower for the art of listening to your body. Sonia said she has just been through a process of that, and she's very interested in that process of the art of listening to your body.
Cool.
So, any more resources you would like to share, or anything you would like to make available for anyone during this?
Yeah, probably just if you jump on the website planningpowerhouse.com, there's lots of links to get your freebie, your
Yeah.
little core values worksheet.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed and you have a million ideas on your plate, just take a step back and sit down for an hour and fill that worksheet out. It's I don't give you a list of core values. You need to work this out based on your past experiences of how you felt, how you want to feel. You go through a process of what you don't like as well. So I give you lots of different options of how to discover what your core values are. And this is where you can then start to put a filter on all of your upcoming projects and decisions and decide what you say yes or no to. So that's on the planningpowerhouse.com website.
Cool. All right, so my final question, like if you, I mean, it's kind of, some people call it the billboard question, but no one is watching billboards right at this moment because we're all locked in. And I mean, from my point of view, videos can be as or more powerful. If everyone in the world was to watch a little video tonight, 15, well, 30, 60 seconds max, like with a message from you, I think this is quite of a personal thing. It's more about what's the impact you want to leave in the world, you know. When someone writes your, what is it, the urology or your
My urology. That's
what would you like that video to have?
All right. So, what I often find myself saying is that your physical body is a reflection of your emotional state, and how we feel or what we think we are capable of is down to our beliefs, our thoughts, our conditioning, and that these are all things that we can change if we choose to make that choice. And I believe that we all have a soul purpose, and it's our mission to connect with that and express it in this lifetime. And that if we do this, we will not only fulfill ourselves, but also contribute beneficially to the lives of others. And how do we do this? Is we can do this by becoming more emotionally aware of our reactions and feelings and take the time out to dream about what it is and how we want our life to really look, and embrace the feminine aspect, our intuition, creativity, and emotional expression, and express who it is you really are. And think of your end goal, and then embrace the masculine energy and take all those small actionable steps and processes to help you achieve this goal, and just trust that you can absolutely do it. And now is as good a time as any to just make that change your habits, make it happen.
Wow. Mouthful, Jen. I like that. I like that a lot, and I think there was so much. I mean, listening. I'm going to listen to that a bit more in detail and extract a few quotes for the final description. I wish you a lot of luck on your journey to change the world, and I hope to be part of little bits of it as much as I can. And thanks so much to you, to everyone that tuned in today. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, but I think we're bringing this to an end. There's no more questions. Thanks everyone that tuned in today to The Answer is 42. I'm stoked to finally have made this a reality. And if you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube, on Facebook. So not on my personal page. Go to the group, which is The Answer is 42. Shouldn't be hard to find. And subscribe, like. Please help us share this if you stayed to the end. Hopefully you found some sort of value in what we said. And that was about around 10 to 20 people sort of at times. So, yeah, there's one platform on YouTube right now. There's a platform on Facebook. The Answer is 42. And we're streaming to both of them at the same time. So, once again, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, go and be the change that you want to see in the world, All right.
Nice. Thanks, Pedro. Thanks, everybody, for tuning
Thank
in.
you very much, Jen. See ya.